Okay, I don't have a ton of time today because we have some bad weather rolling in later on. So I'm just going to get a quick mow in, and I wanted to make the video just to kind of keep you guys up to date. Not really going to do the projects today. I had planned on doing them this weekend, but we had a bunch of projects yesterday that we had inside the house, so we didn't really get to that. And today I was planning on doing it, but with weather rolling in, I really want to get this done just to get the mow in, because that's the most important thing. Skipping mows due to weather is really not good. Letting the grass grow up too tall and taking off too much material is always a big no-no. So especially when the grass is trying to exit dormancy, trying to come out, trying to get going, the last thing I want to do is stress it out. I'm still not going to touch the backyard because the backyard's still beat down. I'll take some pictures of that or some video of that and show you guys here in a minute. But let's first, before we get started on the mow, I'm going to walk around the lawn and just look for imperfections and look for things that I need to keep an eye out for. Here, I'll turn the camera around. We'll kind of go through the lawn together and we'll look at some of the stuff that I'm noticing. So on camera, this might actually be coming through as like sun dappling from the shade or a tree, but actually there's some light spots here in the grass. I don't know if you guys can see them, so I'll point them out. So some light spots here and here and here. So let's take a closer look. Okay, as we get in closer, we see that the grass is suppressed. It's not quite growing nearly as vigorous. Let's go ahead and pick out some of these blades and take a look. We see some leaf spot. So this guy has some leaf spot. You see those brown spots on that guy? The leaf itself is curled in. It's not quite as healthy. We may have the beginnings of some disease here. Typically in this area of the lawn, I do struggle with fungus. You're gonna see that a lot underneath large oak trees, like that guy right there. So I'm not surprised, but I have a couple other spots, like this one little spot here that's not quite greening up all the way. So I'm not really sure what to do about that guy, but you know, it's kind of in the path. Maybe, it's just some dead thatch. I'm not super concerned, but as you see, it's kind of in the path where I mow. So some track marks maybe. Not really sure what's causing that, but you know, when you're coming out of dormancy, strange things happen, but not concerned. You absolutely can manage zoysia at 2.5 inches all the way through the season even, but I don't really want to do that. That's a little low for me and the effort I'm willing to put in. I have a chart that I'll link here in the video about my like mow height recommendations based on your expectations and the amount of effort you're willing to put in. So those two things correlate a lot. You can't just dream of having, you know, a 2.5 inch or lower lawn and not put the work in to make it happen. So there's a lot that goes into that. So because I don't have the time and I'm running a small business and things like that, while I would love that, just not willing to put that time in. So we're gonna be realistic and we're gonna bump it up to 3, let a little bit more sunlight hit those grass blades. One thing you can think about with grass blades and like picking a mow height is, you know, think of them like solar panels. So the more grass blade that you have, the more sunlight the grass can absorb and the more vigorously it's going to grow. If you have grass that's maybe in borderline shade conditions, or you're just not willing to put in quite the amount of effort or food or anything like that, having a slightly higher mow height will assist with that. I wouldn't go much above 3.5 inches for zoysia grass. You start to running into the other side of issues above 3.5 inches, like thatch buildup, moisture, too much moisture sitting on the grass blades. Then you run into fungus, pests. You make a really good environment for pests. So there's a sweet spot in there, in my opinion, between, you know, 2.5 and 3.5. I'm gonna go 3 because that's the middle ground. All right, let's get started. I'm gonna go ahead and move it up to the 3, which correlates with 3 inches. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention really fast, and you may have noticed on my mower behind me here that I don't have a bag. So that is because I've dethatched the lawn. We're looking pretty good. So I'm gonna run this instead of a bag. It's a little deflector that helps my mower mulch up the clippings into smaller pieces, and so they break down quicker, they get into the soil quicker, and they add back to the soil. Real quick, I do want to touch on one point I get a lot from people that sort of understand thatch. They think that grass clippings from the mower are thatch. So yes, is it possible that they build thatch? Is it possible they cause a thatch buildup over time? Yeah, so you absolutely don't have to bag your clippings every mow, as long as you're keeping up. So as long as you have a good, consistent mow practice, you really don't have to bag your clippings. You're not gonna create a thatch issue if you're mowing off less than a third of the blade at once. Now, that being said, that does mean you're gonna be mowing every week at the very minimum. You know, so you wanna be out here, you don't wanna let it get too tall, but as long as you're keeping up, you don't really have to do that because you're cutting off very little. It's gonna get mulched into really small pieces, it's gonna break down, it's not a big deal. But if you're doing spring low mows, resets, you miss a mow, say you skip a mow 1 week and you need to come back and clean it up, or it's just peak grow season and it's outpacing your mow habits, even if you are mowing weekly, well, bag the clippings. One other concept that might be important for everybody to kind of understand about mowing is a little 101 mowing here. And what I always do is anytime I have, you know, objects or things that I have to mow around, like an edge or you know, anything like that, or like my little manhole cover there in the background. So anytime I have something like that, I always mow a perimeter pass. It's unfortunate that will wear down, that will get kind of ruddy. But for the most part, what you can do, or what you should do, is change mow directions every time you mow. That's gonna result in a much more consistent cut throughout. You don't end up laying grass down in one direction or another, which is, not a good thing. It creates matting, more disease issues, more stuff like that, not to mention the ruts from the mower itself. So it's always a good idea to change directions every time you mow. For this particular mow, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go diagonally. I'm gonna pick a point out there on the horizon, that little stake that's sticking out of my lawn. And I'm just gonna aim and look straight at it, not at where I'm mowing. I'm gonna look straight at it and walk looking directly at the object the entire time. And then when I turn around to make my next pass, I'll just kind of pick which half of the lawn I'm gonna get done first. Usually I'll just go ahead and get the more steep section done because I do have a little bit of a slope here, just to get that out of the way, but it really doesn't matter. You're gonna divide it in half. So pick a point, divide your lawn in half with the new direction you wanna mow, and that's the easiest way to get a straight line. That way, you know, if you start on one side and work your way down to the other on a diagonal, you get less and less perfect as you go. Like any mistake that you made at the beginning kind of cumulatively adds to the end result. And by the time you get to the bottom, your lines are really, really crooked. So in this, we're just gonna pick that middle point. We're gonna start, and then we're gonna pick a side, finish it, and then finish the other so that our mistakes don't accumulate on one side or the other. Okay, awesome. Pass done, pass complete. That's my diagonal. I've gone from one corner of the lawn to the other corner of the lawn. That's my starting point. Now I'm gonna get this top section done. The top section of the diagonal I just cut is all finished. Just finished it up. So you can kind of see that here behind me. Cut, uncut. One of the things I always do whenever I'm mowing is I'm always paying attention. So I'm gonna flip the camera around and show you guys some things that kind of uncovered as I mowed. As I mowed, this started to show up. So again, I don't know how well you guys can see this, but there's a dark line right there. I know what that is because I put it in. It's a drain line that runs down from my downspouts there underground. The drain line is perforated and it kind of dries out that soil on top of it quicker than the rest. So that tells me that maybe I need to be watering just a little bit more. I do know that I do need to water some more. That's not lost on me, but I have already gone since then and turned on my irrigation system. I've been watering for about a week now. I'll go over that in more detail about how we need to water. Okay, also call me lazy, but I'm gonna not edge today. It's still early in the season, and I'll flip the camera around here in a second, show you guys the edges. They're still holding up. So, you know, sometimes it depends. I don't really edge every time. Save me some energy. That way I can focus on some more important stuff. I promised some shots of the backyard, which again, not touching because it needs all the help it can get. It just gets beat down. This is what foot traffic does even when you do everything right. That is a spot where I got some disease, and it popped up during dormancy. There's not a lot you can do about that because you don't see it coming. Disease in dormancy is a big deal. Try to avoid it the best you can by keeping track, taking care of your grass, but when it's put under stress like that and it's dormant and you don't see it, it can do damage, and then you don't see it, so it starts waking up. That's what happened to me. So it's okay, it'll bounce back. We'll manage the disease. We'll do all sorts of recovery techniques. It's kind of a good opportunity to go over that with you guys. I brought in some soil last week. Again, I was gonna do some more projects today, but just don't have the time. So we're gonna cover those in another video.